If you've done all the therapy, you've tried the different techniques, and you're still finding yourself anxious, reactive, emotionally drained, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It is very likely because you have been taught how to cope rather than how to actually heal. And I want to share with you today that learning to manage your anxiety is very different from learning to heal the root of the issue. And, I had a student come to me recently and she said, Danielle, I've graduated therapy. My therapist has said, hey, we've gotten to the bottom of all of it after all of these years. She could literally trace back into her childhood what had caused her to now be anxious. She understood her patterns. She understood her parents. She had let go of all that was there. She had forgiven. And she said, unfortunately, I still feel the heaviness. I still feel sadness. I still get anxious. My heart literally starts pounding when I think about them. And she said, I don't know how to let this go. I don't know how to get it out of me. And I told her, look, the missing piece is very simple once someone points you in the direction of it. And that is letting go at the level of the mind is very different than learning to let go at the level of the body, which is where everything is actually living. And I want to point out to you in this video right now about probably 6 techniques that you've probably been taught, and maybe you even think society accepts. It's like, hey, this is normal, this is how we process emotion, this is how we deal with it. And actually point out that, hey, while those could have their place and maybe temporarily help us kind of move forward in life, they never actually get at the root of the issue. And so then we'll talk about how to get actually at the root of the issue. So let's talk about these. I've given them all names. First one I call the pusher, right? These are people that just push through. We are taught to just, pull up your big girl pants. We're taught to just keep going, or maybe kids are calling, work is calling, you've got a lot going on. And so the idea to be able to stop and feel the emotions, you're like, no, just wipe me out. I wouldn't be able to handle life. And it's helpful. Maybe in the short term, you've lost a loved one, maybe a family member has passed away. And so you have to plan the funeral and take care of all of everything. There's so much to take care of. And life pulls you. But if you never come back and actually deal with and process the grief, process the loss, these things get stuck in us. We sweep them under the rug, we put them into the closet, we push forward. Well, guess what? Eventually, they will come back out. And sometimes for a lot of people, this happens later in life, after retirement, after all of the doing and the pushing is gone. And now all of a sudden, their body is like, hey, listen to me now. And they start to lose their health. Have you ever seen this? And now they have to pay attention to the body. Well, what that really is all that past emotional baggage that they never actually dealt with. So that's the first one. The second thing that I see a lot of people doing is numbing out. Now, there are the obvious ways that people numb out: drugs, sex, alcohol, right? We see that people are doing that to cope because they can't actually, or they're trying to cover up something within them that doesn't feel good. They're not exactly sure how to process the emotion. But there are sneakier ways, things that you might be doing that on the surface look fine. Maybe it's scrolling social media and you're using it to numb out, binge watching Netflix, right? Maybe saying yes to everything, always being busy, always having work to do, being the social butterfly all of the time. Check yourself. I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening, but check yourself. Are you actually trying to numb out? Are you afraid that if you actually slow down, you're going to be having to feel things that you don't want to feel? And so you'd rather keep yourself busy, keep your mind engaged, keep your mind entertained so you stay numb to what's going on in there. Now, the third, I call these people the analysts. So maybe you've gone to therapy, or maybe you do journaling and you reflect. You spent years, right, understanding your patterns, and you know yourself, and you know why you're anxious, and you know why it happens, and you can explain the trauma. And all of this understanding, while it is very helpful, just like I told my student, it's happening at the level of the mind. And true healing has to release what is stuck in the energy body, or else you will never get there. All right. They say the body is the subconscious, and the body keeps the score. It lives there. It can feel like an anchor every time you try to go forward. All right. Now let's talk about the blamer. Okay. So this fourth one, you can blame someone else. Well, I was okay, but this person said this thing, or they treated me this way, or what they said was unfair, or what they did was unfair, or they cheated, or they stole, or whatever. And while, yes, sometimes it's accurate that someone did something, there is also a dynamic of how you interacted with what they did. And so a lot of time, I see people putting boundaries up, setting boundaries, setting barriers. I don't want you to press my buttons. They try to control everything externally because they're blaming the things external for causing them the internal irritation. But the truth of the matter is something inside of them is getting bumped up against that's causing them to be irritated. And so rather than controlling the external world, deal with the irritation, right? I always say it's like you have a thorn in your arm. Well, when people bump it, yeah, it hurts. You could blame the person, but like you have the thorn there. Okay, you understand? So yeah, we could build a protective thing around the thorn, or you could pull the thorn out. All right, which is what we're going to get to. It's what we're going to get at going into the body. So the fifth one is the dumper. This is someone that just bottles everything up and then dumps it out, right? They vent, they seem fine, and then all of a sudden, they just explode, or they have a meltdown, or they go off at somebody in traffic, or they snap at a loved one, and they're like in their mind, like not even sure why they're doing it. But it's because they've been, like everything has been pent up, and then boom, this little thing happens, and they just can't handle it anymore, and they snap. All right, and then there's people, I call them the managers. They try to manage everything. They're doing the breath techniques. They're doing the grounding. They're doing, cold plunges. They're doing all the mindfulness things. And yet it's only leading to this temporary feeling of being stable. They keep getting dysregulated and they keep having to fight getting dysregulated. They never are actually free. And so what I want to help you with is how to actually get free from this. Everything that I just went through, this was suppression or expression of emotion. All right, so we are either, society even says, like, it's fine, just suppress it and move forward, or just dump it, right? Dump it out and get it out and blame and all of that. The one thing that we haven't done in any of those instances is actually feel the feeling that is in the body. Sometimes we are so afraid that if we actually slow down, if we actually stop, if we actually feel it, it would wipe us out. All right, and so this opportunity that I'm going to share with you is how to go into this energetic block, this thing that we swept under the rug, that's in the closet, that maybe we didn't even know where it came from because it happened when we were a kid and we didn't have the conscious level of awareness to deal with and process our emotions at that age. What you can do is go into the body. Let me just ask you this. When you get stressed out, where do you feel it? Your stomach? Is it your neck? Is it your knees? Is it your shoulder? Is there like a stabbing pain somewhere? Very likely, one of these emotional blocks that I'm referring to is living there in your body. When they say the body keeps the score, this is what they mean. There are all emotions, all things that happen, they carry energy with them. And usually it just flows right through. It's like something flowing through a tube. But occasionally we say, hey, it's too much. Like we put a kink in the hose. And we say, no, we can't do that. And what happens when you put a kink? Well, the water just builds up, right? We all know when you let the kink go, it like shoots out really fast because of all the pressure that had built up. But then it just gets back to flowing regularly. This is what we're talking about. You have to go into the body and you have to go into where this trapped energy is, feel it, allow it to be there, and let it flow through. This is the opportunity to actually release and understand things at the level of the body and not just at the level of the mind. This will stop you from getting dysregulated because once you clear this, it's like you've gotten to the roots, right? And you've pulled it up at the roots. And so that student that I mentioned earlier, I did two things with her, right? I said, okay, first, I want you to understand that there is a part of you beyond your thoughts. And we need to access that part of you. We need to ask the mind to step aside because the mind has done a great job, right? The mind has analyzed, it has forgiven, it's traced everything, it's emotionally understood everything at the level of the mind. Now we need to move to the level of the feeling body and then to the space beyond it. All right, so I took her first to the space beyond it so that she knew that there was a space beyond her thoughts, a space that she could access where she could simply witness and not be overwhelmed by the emotional blocks that were living there. And I did that through Yoga Nidra, through guided meditation, where you step back, right, and you can just witness your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. It is very powerful. If you've never meditated before, this is a very unique type of meditation that brings you to that space very quickly. And the more that you do it, the more that you're able to step back, to realize you're more than your thoughts, to disidentify from your thoughts, right? And that's the space I wanted to get her to understand that. And then we did yoga therapy. Yoga therapy is where you go into the body, you go into the feeling body, and we say, okay, when you think about this situation with your parents, when you think about your childhood, feel it all at once in your body. Where do you feel it? Okay, maybe it's a fluttering in the heart. Maybe it's a tingling in the hands. Maybe it's a pounding in the head. Maybe it feels like butterflies in the stomach or knots in the stomach. That's what we're going for. All right, that's where the energetic block is living. That's what you actually have to feel into. The one thing that our mind says, but I don't want to go there, is the one thing that when you go there actually opens you to be able to let the kink out of the hose, to let it flow through. And for a moment, it might feel overwhelming, but it just needed to pass through. You're not reliving the trauma, nothing. You're just feeling the feeling. You might feel nauseous. You might want to cough, whatever it might be. All of that is just the energy, the emotion of the event moving through. And now sometimes you can just handle a little bit, right? You go in, you feel that, you breathe with it, and then it's like, okay, that's all I can do for today. Other times you go in and the body's finally like, thank you for listening. And it just releases it all out and it comes out. And guys, the peace that you feel after that is incredible, right? Because it's like that flood and release of energy. It brings you to a meditative place. You know, my student, she now says, it's amazing. It's as if now I can think about these situations with my family and all of those dynamics. And it's as if I'm sitting at the bottom of the ocean and I'm looking at those choppy waves up there. And I realized I used to live in those waves and I used to try to regulate myself while I was just getting inundated by these waves, and it was exhausting. Now I've realized, hey, I don't have to pay attention to my thoughts. I can just feel what's in my body. I can get to this quiet space below all of it, behind all of it, where I can witness all of it. So now it's not splashing me around, right? I'm just in a stable, calm, peaceful place at the bottom of the ocean, watching it from there, learning from the dynamics if I need to, but totally free from them. Guys, this is what it looks like to truly get to the root, to not just cope, but to actually heal what is causing you anxiety. Because the truth of the matter is, all of that fear that's there, it's rooted in just something that's stuck in you, and you just simply need to release it. So if you are ready to release it, in this next video, I actually walk you through what's called the energetic diffusion technique. It's one of the pieces that I use in a yoga therapy to help you identify where is this living in the body, so you can be with it, breathe with it, allow it to be felt, which is all it actually needs, so it can flow through. And I would love for you to go try it now so you can actually have a kinesthetic experience and understand, not at the level of the mind, but at the level of the body, what it means like to really actually release things at the root.